So I just played a game of Ezreal because I was going to use a new item or like a new build, and so this is the overpowered Ezreal build. So the build is we rush Essence Reaver and we skip tier because we don't need tier with this build. We just go Essence Reaver because it's really powerful. So I'll show the cost efficiency of Essence Reaver. So the wiki gives the cost efficiency of the stats from the Essence Reaver as 3,200 gold, while ignoring the passive Spellblade proc, and so it's very cost efficient. And then my valuation of the item, I valued the AD as this much gold. The converting the haste to CDR, it's worth 445 gold. And then the crit is worth 600 gold. And then I value the passive as 1,000 gold because the 100% base AD from Spellblade is worth 700 gold because that's basically a Sheen. And then the passive is basically half of a Sheen. So it's 350 gold, and it only scales harder the more AD we get. So the total value of the Essence Reaver passive is 1,000 gold. So adding the stats and the passive together, we get a cost efficiency of 4,000 gold for a price of just 2,900 gold. So the cost efficiency is 138%, and that's incredibly high cost efficiency. And the item is also incredibly cheap, so we get a huge power spike, and we also get an early power spike for just 2,900 gold compared to other people who are buying Kraken Slayer for 3,400 gold. We spike 500 gold earlier, and we can just destroy them 500 gold earlier. If we can get our item before they get their mythic, they're gonna lose lane, like, for real. And even last patch, I'll just talk about some stories. Like, even last patch, Essence Reaver had 5 less 80, but it was still overpowered in cost efficiency because it only loses 145 gold from losing 5 AD, so it's still worth 3,850 gold. And then it was really good, and it was going under the radar despite how strong it is. And I wanted to build it on Kai'Sa because I only played Kai'Sa, so I didn't want to play Ezreal because even if it, so I was just trying to make Essence Reaver work on Kai'Sa, but like Kai'Sa can use other items in her slots, such as Phantom Dancer or Mortal Reminder that suit her champion better. So Essence Reaver is good because of the cost efficiency, and it spikes very early compared to Kraken Slayer for 3,400 gold, Trinity Force for 3,333 gold, Divine Sunder for 3,300 gold. So we spike 400 to 500 gold earlier than the opponent, and that's a very early spike, and that lets us abuse the enemy champions. We skip tier because we don't have mana problems. Yeah. So the final build, or the core build, is Essence Reaver, then Kraken Slayer, then Navori Quickblades, because Kraken Slayer procs on Ezreal's Q, like how Miss Fortune and Lucian can abuse Kraken Slayer because Miss Fortune's Q procs the Kraken Slayer faster, and Lucian's passive lets him double stack the passive with his auto attacks. So they just apply Kraken Slayer very fast, like how Ezreal also does. And so therefore Kraken Slayer works very well with the kits, and it's a very powerful item on these champions. And then Quick Blades is because it gives the CDR and the cooldown refund on a critical auto attack. So it's very good on critical Ezreal. So my runes, I take Lethal Tempo because on a high AD build with Essence Reaver Kraken Slayer, attack speed from any sources such as Lethal Tempo, Berserker Greaves, his passive, it helps him auto attack a lot faster, and that gives a lot of damage. And like there's a point, I want to talk about another story. There's a point in time where the pros started taking Lethal Tempo on Ezreal. And well, a month or so earlier, I told people to use Lethal Tempo Ezreal because, well, about the time where Kleptomancy got removed, and so I told them to take Lethal Tempo with the build Mirror Mana, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, because it's stacking a huge amount of AD, and so the extra attack speed from Lethal Tempo lets Ezreal deal a lot more damage. I take Triumph instead of Presence of Mind because Presence of Mind got nerfed a lot. It only heals, like, it gives mana regen, but from what I remember, the mana regen for melee, the melees get a certain amount of mana regen, and ranged only get 20% of that mana regeneration when you hit an enemy champion with an ability. So I don't take this anymore because it doesn't give that much mana, and I don't have mana problems. And then Essence Reaver makes me perfectly fine with my mana pool. And so Triumph is just pretty good because it gives healing when you're fighting someone, when you kill one of their enemy champions. So it heals you during a team fight or during a 2v2, and it's really powerful. It's a really powerful rune. It's definitely a powerful rune, and every ADC would think about taking Triumph. Then I take this footwear because it gives 10 movement speed and also gives 300 gold, which gives a faster. It lets you get items faster because you save 300 gold. So this is just a really good rune. I take biscuits because it helps your early game. It gives you health, so it helps you win early game, and it gives you mana in case you're low on mana. I like take this on every ADC because I like to win lane and then snowball into winning the game. So I like winning lane because that's just like that gives you a higher like guaranteed chance of winning, because if you win lane and you snowball, you get really fed, and the enemy ADC kind of falls behind. So winning lane is a really good way to win the game. So taking early game runes like Biscuit Delivery is a really good idea, especially since a lot of champions like Kai'Sa kind of have mana problems. So taking Biscuit Delivery on like Ezreal or Kai'Sa kind of gives you even more mana to make sure you never run out of mana and get in a weak lane position. Yeah, the extra mana helps you use more spells for fighting or trading. So the build is Essence Reaver, Kraken Slayer, then Navori Quick Blades. Because the Navori Quick Blades gives a lot of CDR and the CDR refund passive. Yeah, so the build is really good because Essence Reaver is really cost efficient, and the Sheen is exactly what Ezreal. The Sheen passive is exactly what Ezreal wants. And so the build's really powerful. And I tested it one game and it popped off, and I definitely felt the one item power spike. Ezreal doesn't need Mirror Mana anymore, because Ezreal doesn't need Mirror Mana. He doesn't have mana problems without Mirror Mana, and then he also the Mirror Mana damage isn't that. Ezreal has a lot of damage with other items, so he's not dependent on Mirror Mana for damage. The Mirror Mana gives a little more damage, but considering it used to proc on his WE and ultimate, but now Mirror Mana got nerfed, so it's actually weaker than one patch ago, which is patch 10.24. So in the current patch 10.25, Mirror Mana only procs on Ezreal's Q and auto attacks, so it got nerfed. And now Essence Reaver also got buffed to have 5 more AD. So this build got buffed by 5 AD, and Mirror Mana build got nerfed. So this build could be the best build in patch 10.25, but no one's gonna use it because crit Ezreal. No one has done that before except for someone that likes crit Ezreal. So yeah, this could be the best build on patch 10.25, rushing Essence Reaver, but no one's gonna use it because it's so untraditional to go critical Ezreal. Like in season 10, or in season 9, like I showed people my crit Ezreal builds, it works, and some other off-meta Ezreal builds, and it works for sure, but it's definitely an untraditional, and Ezreal has always been a champion where people only follow the meta builds, such as like Mirror Mana Trinity Force Borg, Mirror Mana Double Tier. People really focus on the meta builds on Ezreal because he's always been a champion that abuses a few specific items, but he definitely could use crit. He can use crit in season 11 and season 10. In season 10, I actually went no tier builds and showed people on Reddit, which is interesting. And then I showed people my match history and with a lot of wins with no tier Ezreal, and they were really salty, and it was really funny. And they were like, "What elo are you? This doesn't work in high elo. You're definitely doing it in silver elo, bronze elo." And then I was like, "Okay, you think it's low elo? Well, it's not silver elo, but you think it's low. You think I'm low elo. Well, what if I told you Korean Master Elo Ezreal's, well, one Korean Master Elo Ezreal player went no tier Ezreal in Korean Master Elo, and he was like winning a lot of games in Korea Masters Elo with no tier Ezreal in season 10. Or oh no, it's season 10 preseason. Like it was 1 year ago, basically. And then they had nothing. They had no response because it definitely works. Someone pulled it off in Korea Masters Elo with no tier. So yeah, it definitely works. But that was just another story. So the build is Essence Reaver into Kraken Slayer into Quick Blaze because Ezreal abuses Essence Reaver because it's so cost efficient and it has Sheen, and he abuses Kraken Slayer because of the passive, which works on his Q. And so this is the best build for Ezreal in patch 10.25 after the Muramana nerfs.